Members, the House is resumed. Call on Government Order of the Day number 6.
Financial Markets Conduct Bill, Committee stage.
I declare the House in committee for consideration of the Financial Markets Conduct Bill. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker. Honourable Members, the House is in committee on the Financial Markets Conduct Bill. The question before the House is at Part 1, Stand Part. It is debate on clauses 3 through to 15.
Mr. Chair.
I call the Honourable Minister, Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the Financial Markets Conduct Bill is a very, very large bill, many parts, very complex. The tentacles of it go everywhere. It has huge impact on the modernisation, the new sophistication of our financial market regulation in New Zealand. Mr. Speaker, I acknowledge the committee that has worked on the bill, originally worked on the bill, and of course the consultation that's been going on around this bill out in the sector, in the finance sector for quite some time to get it to where it is now. Where mostly, Mr. Speaker, I think without exception, the demand of the sector is, when is this bill going to be passed? Can you get it in place as soon as possible? Because, of course, it changes the framework under which all securities, banking, capital raising, reporting, you name it, Mr. Chair at least, must operate within New Zealand. It's well overdue, Mr. Chair, in the need for it. The journey for it has been quite some time, but that is a function of constant, ongoing consultation, regulatory review with stakeholders, and there has been changes through the bill as reported back from the committee, but the large substance of the bill is absolutely unchanged. It is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to upgrade, to modernise our financial regulation. Mr. Chair, this bill goes hand in hand with its companion bill, the Financial Advisors Act, which was passed in September 2008 by the previous government. This is the other part of the right hand of that left-hand bill, or the other way around, if you like, absolutely crucial to the modernisation of our financial regulatory scheme, Mr. Chair. It has many parts. Members may know SOP 220 is something quite different because it's so large. I think there's about 700 pages in there. Actually, it's basically a revision tracked bill incorporating the SOPs to help members work their way through it, and that example or early examples of it have been consulted on widely out there in the financial sector, and in fact not just the big end of town either, Mr. Chair. All stakeholders, from shareholders associations to banking organisations to listed markets to, you name it, anyone and everyone involved in the commerce sector. As I noted, it is part of a suite of legislation. Financial Advisors Act passed in September 2008. Associated with this bill, and some of the latter parts in it refer to the Financial Reporting Bill, FAA under Labor in September 2008, that's right. Financial Reporting Bill before the House at the moment. Hopefully we'll be able to progress that pretty soon. The Companies and Limited Partnerships Bill also before the House, and amongst others, and one or two yet to be introduced. Each and every single one of those, Mr. Chair, is about making the securities, the financial regulatory arrangements, framework, platforms within New Zealand not quite leading edge, I suppose, but as good as you could get anywhere in the world, because that's what New Zealand deserves and that's what they need. These bills are in response to unfortunate activities that happened in the finance sector of New Zealand in the early 2000s, 04-ish to 08, as the GFC crashed upon us and finance companies failed, and unfortunately activities that some courts have found to be questionable, or they have pointed to many, many gaps in our legislation. It is the major second completion of this. It does take in lessons of the global financial crisis, the collapse of finance companies, and it's a response to the the Capital Markets Development Task Force work of a few years ago. It will play a key role in continuing to rebuild the trust and the confidence of all of New Zealanders in our financial sector, because I quite openly admit, for some New Zealanders, given recent behaviours or the loss of their savings in various organisations, some investment failure, some, as the courts have shown, some quite deliberate and even fraudulent actions have happened. We need those Kiwis to trust in our financial sector, as well as we need those that fund New Zealand's debt to fund our mortgages to trust in our regulatory environment as they send their capital from overseas back into New Zealand. We'll also enable different ways of raising capital, Mr Chair, pathways of capital from, of course, your big end of town, your NZX-listed organisations, but right down unlisted exchanges, alternative exchanges are possible, and most importantly, crowdfunding and peer-to-peer lending, which I'm extremely optimistic about, Mr Chair, being a very positive growth opportunity for New Zealand. Yes, it is a bill of considerable technical complexity. It's been the subject of extensive consultation. I would like again to thank all of those that have been engaged, from pre-drafting to Mr Chair.
Honourable Minister Craig Foss.
To Select Committee, to those processes, the parallel process that went on at that stage, and then they've constantly engaged with officials as we've improved the bill to the form that is now. There are only 3 SOPs there, one released in May, I think, considerably large. That was the one that there were some policy changes in there, but again, in response to consultation and awareness of some issues that weren't in the bill as reported back. A SOP which was tabled yesterday or today, generally a technical tidy-up, and in response to particularly the public trust changes that Minister Collins brought in recently. Mr Chair, I look forward to the debate and discussion around this bill. It is a very organised bill. Different parts deal with distinct parts of the market and how capital is processed, managed. Signals are sent around New Zealand from, again, your smallest participant, your KiwiSaver investor, a managed funds player, a discretionary investment managed scheme, the various permutations around those, right up to your large IPOs and what a very large company would need to do, how the form of its prospectus and what it will now need to say and declare in conjunction with FMA directives as it's looking to raise substantial amount of capital. So, Mr Chair, I look forward to the discussion and debate in the House. I understand the bill is pretty much widely supportive, and so I hope that continues. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Mr Chair.
I call the honourable member, Clea Curran.
Thank you, Mr Chair.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to speak in the committee stages of this bill, this big kahuna bill, which is what it's been described as. And I was just looking at the second reading speeches on this bill, and at that stage the bill was 500 pages, and now it appears that it's 700 pages. So in the intervening period there's been an extra 200 pages added. And I've just been reading the comments by Minter Allison, Rudd Watt's partner Lloyd Kavanagh, who was asked whether it was the big kahuna of financial markets reform, and who agreed with that sentiment. And he said that it's a complete rewrite of New Zealand's securities law, and replaces the current Securities Act of 1978, which has obviously been around for more than 30 years. So this is a back-to-basics fundamental change, and indeed is a big kahuna of a bill. And I actually don't have the whole bill in front of me, but I think it has been also described as a door-stopper. This is a one-stop shop for securities law. It's been